Hello.
Okay, are we on?
Looking for.
There it
There we go.
goes. Okay.
Excellent. I think we managed to get it working.
I think so. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Thomas Wade,
And I'm Jesse Buddington.
and we have the pleasure of hosting this holiday sort of listening event. And it's really a chance for us to talk with our audience about our debut album, which we recorded several years ago, called in Paradisum, which is a Ragazzi Continuo Christmas.
It's a mostly Christmas album. We snuck a few of our favorite other non-necessarily Christmassy pieces, but all things that would fit the Christmas spirit.
All the cozy ones.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This CD is really designed. We thought about it for what would be fun for people to curl up with their loved ones and a warm fire and celebrate togetherness. I think that's something that is especially important in these times when we can't all physically be doing, a winter concert. As those of you who are fans of choral music, hopefully all of you know, the winter season is the most important season for choral music. It's where we do all of the really, really, meaty, great stuff. When the weather outside is so cold and we're bundled up inside in a church, sharing each other's warmth and each other's air used to be something that we didn't have to think much about. Now we have to think about it very carefully. But it is such a pleasure to be entering into your homes. And thank you, Thomas, for having me in your home.
Yes, here we are. We're sort of pushed together in the armchairs here. And we'll sort of see how it goes. Our plan is to go through the CD in order, and we have our tech help playing it for us, and we'll say pause partway through. It'll be sort of a start and stop kind of evening, and then we're just going to sort of take turns talking about things and telling stories about the recording process or sharing musical insights that we have.
And also responding to your comments.
Yes.
So I've got the chat here on my mobile device, and we'll be able to watch any questions that come in. We'll definitely do our best to answer them.
Absolutely.
Shall we get started with the first song?
Let's jump right in, yeah.
All right. This first song was recorded. We did two different studios to record our album. One was a digital traditional studio. One was an old school tape studio. The tape studio was called Tiny Telephone. The digital studio was Studio Trilogy. This particular one was shot in the digital studio. We all had several microphones around in an arc, sort of similar to how we usually stand in concerts. And we all sort of took our places around and made the sound that way. There's a pretty big difference between what we heard in the studio and then what came back to us, particularly after all of the wonderful engineering work was done. So this is Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
This first soloist is Ravi Raval.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
That was Hallelujah. It's a traditional Creek Muskogee Alleluia of sorts. This piece came about at a time when sort of pre-1800s, prior to the removal of a lot of Native American people from their ancestral lands. But you started to have a lot of this interplay of different musical styles. There's some elements that I hear in here of call and response, of line singing, which is typical of different Native American cultures. There's also certain elements in the harmony of maybe spirituals or hymn music from something like those of you who are familiar with shape note singing might hear some of that sort of style. I think those blend really nicely together.
This is one of the first songs we recorded, I remember.
Yeah.
We got in, and one of the things we had to do was check the mics to see what the levels were going to be, and this one we knew was sort of a full-throated kind of song. So we just started with that, and it was a nice sort of trial run to sort of see what it was like to be in the studio.
And there's a bit in one of the late verses where there's a really high note, and I remember that I had to physically step a step and a half back from a large step and a half back from the mics, because that one note was so much louder than all the other notes. And so we had some of these physical and logistical challenges being in the studio space, things that we would never do in a live concert setting, because we're doing it for microphones that are very close to us rather than an audience that is sitting in seats. We have to make different choices. The benefit to the studio space is that all of the silly faces we're making and the pointing at each other that we're doing and making motions and that sort of thing, we can all do, not worrying about what we look like. Rick says that there's a noise suppression algorithm likely cutting off some of the reverb tails, which I'm not sure the best way to fix that, unfortunately. But I hope that you'll bear with us. It may not be the greatest audio quality in the world, but we wanted to take this opportunity to listen through and maybe provide some more insights on some of the tracks. Definitely you're going to get a higher sound quality from listening to it directly on Spotify or Apple Music. It's available both places. You can search for Continuo in Paradisum and it should come right up. And thank you to Xander for the comment about the smoking jackets. This was, we wanted to get cozy, and we knew that we both owned, fancy smoking jackets, and we were like, why don't we do this instead of the Continuo uniforms?
It's still black, though.
Yes, I'm wearing the Continuo smoking jacket.
Well, this is the holiday print.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we head on to the next track?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I believe this one is O Lux Beatissima.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk a little bit over this one. One of the interesting things about this song is that there's always a part holding a long held note, and it transfers between the different parts. It'll change what note it is, but there's this idea of continuum between these notes. It's very rare that all of the parts will stop, as you just heard, and then start again. Sort of almost Renaissance-y in that idea.
Of handing it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so even though this is a more modern piece with more modern harmonies, it has kind of that Renaissance-y idea.
But of course, with the modern harmony.
Yeah. There's this really great second in between two of the internal parts. No. That's Nathan Weiland on that line. It's really nice to, hear for us the voices that we know from the group, whereas I don't actually know what it sounds like to not be intimately familiar with, Nathan's voice, John Martin's voice down on the baritone part, people in the bass section, Robbie coming through, and Chris and Rick. for me, it's just a pleasure to listen to these voices, and no matter how well we blend, I can still hear individual people's tone coming out in a way that is, home, and it's nice to hear that. That crunch. Yeah, that last getting to that point of arrival with everybody is one of my favorite things. A lot of the time in continuo rehearsal, we spend a lot of time on maybe two chords going to each other, and it's those types of moments that make it really worth it.
It's often at the end too.
Yeah.
When it gets slow and it gets sweet.
Yeah.
That's one of our favorite endings to do.
Oh yeah, we'll let you guys in on a frequent joke in rehearsal, which is the continuo ending. You want to describe the continuo ending, Thomas?
It's picture the most sort of saccharine, lugubrious thing, and just sweet and just beautiful. We are expert at slowing down and just really milking every single chord.
Yeah, I really love that we're on a chord and we really like the sound of it, so we hold it just a little bit longer, and then the next one we hold just a little bit longer, and the next one just a little bit longer.
And it's always in good taste, but we always do it. So
it gets good taste eventually. When we first start doing it early in the season, we're like, okay, that was too much. It was too much.
Yes.
But as Joyce Kyle is fond of saying, wrong and strong is better than meek and weak, right? So it's better to make bold decisions that you're like, wow, that was too much, or I hated that. Right. Let's pull that back 50%, right, or 25%, or 10%, or 2%, than to not give enough. Mm-hmm. It sucks, especially as a choir director, to always be going like more. One of the great benefits of working with this group is that we've learned from a very early age to be okay with giving too much. And I really love that. I think that helps us craft a really beautiful sound throughout the season.
Okay. Are there any questions coming in, or just
where are we physically broadcasting from? But Bunny answered it. We are directly coming from Thomas's actual living room. This is not a green screen. This lamp is real.
Green, but it's not a green screen.
I can touch this wall.
So we're in Russian Hill in San Francisco, broadcasting.
And Thomas owns this place. Thomas got himself like an actual place to live in San Francisco. I'm super proud of you for doing that.
Fit all the pianos and things in. Yeah, it's cozy.
Yeah, and it has all of the space for beautiful old furniture. Basically, exactly the way that you think Thomas would live is the way that Thomas lives. And it's such a pleasure to be over here every time. All right.
Okay. Next we have Paradisum.
This is one of my favorite carols.
Yeah.
I love all the minor key Christmas carols, the ones that are happy even though they have that sort of sad mode. Sad. Yeah.
So here up top we have the tenors, and they're singing the melody, right, the verse, and then underneath this, the basses and baritones are being that drum. Now we switched.
Yeah, now the tenors are being the drum. I love a good bass solo.
Yeah, they come along.
Yeah. That's one thing that pop music does not really have going for it, except for country. I guess you could have a deep bass soloist. But choir music has such wonderful bass solos.
Yeah. And very typical is to have it set first in the higher voices, and the great basses carry it through with it, like we did here. What are we saying?
Rick says, "Listen for the rushing at the end." You be quiet, right?
Well, how about Rick goes to the next one?
Yeah.
We decided to live more passive.
There's all the things that Continuo screwed up. No, we very much wish that Rick could be here hosting with
Yes.
us.
Rick's in Portland.
Yeah.
Rick, are you? He's in Portland.
Rick is in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It'd be so cool to do this with the full group.
Yeah.
If we could.
Yeah. We could even do a real post-concert one.
Yeah.
Some groups do that. Okay. So a few credits for this one. This is an arrangement of Paradisum, which is an old Burgundian carol by David Conti, who's quite a prolific composer here in San Francisco. He is the chair of the composition department at the Conservatory of Music in San Francisco here, and this is one of those songs that everybody just knows and does his arrangement very often. It has that nice sort of spare voicing, not too heavy, very open, and one of those ones that sounds sad but isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few, like there's that the Coventry Carol comes to mind. Veni Veni Emmanuel, which is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one of those ones that sounds sad,
Yeah.
but really isn't.
Foom 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 is also minor.
Foom, foom,
I
foom.
love that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that's really interesting about this piece is that you have kind of there, and then the tenors kick it up into you kind of change keys, and then you change back into the original key in order to finish up the piece. I think that change of registration really makes the emotional intensity go up in it without necessarily needing to add more parts or add more voices. I mean, there's no more than 4 parts going on at any one time. Usually a lot of these things that have a lot of intensity, especially in men's choirs, there's a tendency to have 8, 9, 10 part splits, which, you know, we do, but it can be challenging for us. And it's nice to sometimes have something that uses other techniques to get that change in emotional intensity. You can have it drawn back to that very spare perfect fifth that Thomas was talking about. Or you can have, you know, let's all go up a fourth and sing it there.
So actually, that's funny you mentioned that sort of the tuning and how you can use pitch to build excitement. So Joyce Kyle, the founder of Ragazzi, who trained all of us,
founder of the feast,
she's big into tuning. I'll just say it that way and leave it there. And very, you know, most often singers tend to be flat. I'd say more often than not. Certain singers in Continuo don't have that problem. They sing, some of them sing sharp.
Which singers are those, Thomas?
I couldn't name one. Could you, Jesse?
It's me. It's very much me.
and I will add in rehearsal, you know, it's better to go sharp than flat, because when you're going sharp, at least it sounds like you're going to change keys.
You're getting excited.
Or getting excited about something. Yeah. If you're flat, you're just out of tune.
Look, I like a good A equals 443. Like that's about where I want to be.
It's a perky sort of A.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, speaking of Veni Veni Emmanuel, that's the next song. Another one that. So I'll let it go first, then we'll talk about it.
Sounds good.
Veni, veni, Emmanuel, captivum solve Israel, qui gemit in exilio, privatus Dei filio, cade, Emmanuel nascetur pro Dei.
Let's pause here if we can. Okay, so Veni Veni Emmanuel, very old chant. And it began just that way, very simply, as a unison line, and then it expands. It expands on Gaude, which is to rejoice, to celebrate. This is a typical, like Advent, the most typical Advent carol I can think of. And we're in Advent now. The 4th Sunday of Advent just is today, and it's the season of longing, right? It's longing for Christmas. And you can hear it in sort of this wistful sort of line, and the way it sort of meanders. You'll hear it going forward. Nathan Weiland takes the solo, and he has it's a nice thin, sort of pointed but precise line that he sort of rides on. And then again, we open up to a bigger sound when it gets to the Gaude, Gaude.
Yeah. One interesting recording facet of this that many of you probably don't know, if you weren't there, is that we actually cut from the end of that Gregorian chant to the Gaude of the second verse that we were supposed to sing.
We did.
Because the recording
forgotten
of that
that.
whole second verse had some tuning issues, but the Gaude came in nice and
Were
strong.
you sharp, Jesse?
The three of us that were supposed to sing that trio were off in some
Oh,
way.
that's right.
I didn't actually hear it, but I was told that like we had to cut there because we just didn't have enough usable material. But it's a brilliant cut. It's really beautiful, and it sounds like we planned it to do that way.
Yeah.
So I'm really pleased with the way that it came out, and now you know one of the sort of sleight of hand tricks in the background to make that sound good and continuous.
They were splicing the tape, cutting it with little shears, and then taping it together again.
Yeah.
Let's carry on singing, shall we? Verse 2.
That's a Thomas solo. Little Xander on that suspension. He does those so well.
Mm-hmm. And here's Nathan's verse.
I love how full we were able to get the bass too.
Double octave with Jesse.
The easiest way for me to do that is to physically look at Nathan and have him physically look at me. It's this really connective moment between the two of us.
And that's
really
live or in a CD.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But we can actually face each other in the CD, which is great.
Good point. But we're going to stop this one here just for the sake of time. I'm looking at the clock and seeing we're 25 minutes into our hour and we're on track 4. So let's pause here and I'm going to hand it over to Jesse to talk about It Came Upon the Midnight Clear.
Oh, excellent. So It Came Upon the Midnight Clear, classic carol. This one was actually arranged in-house by our very own Jansen Verplank. Jansen is quite possibly one of the greatest musicians I've ever had the opportunity to work with. I remember we grew up together as kids, and I grew up thinking I was really bad at music theory because I was comparing myself to Jansen. And you know, this is a man who can like whistle and hum 2 different parts with himself. Like he has amazing talents, but he is just so good at arranging for this particular group. Those of you who are longtime listeners of Continuo know that we have a bit of a weird part distribution. We're not an SATB group, and we're not really a TTBB group. We're kind of like an alto, tenor, tenor, maybe third tenor, baritone, 2 different basses kind of group. And you know, when we get pieces like It Came Upon the Midnight Clear, or later in Paradisum by Cole Thomas and Reedus, anything written for the group, we really get to sit in the range that we are most comfortable with and have the part distribution that we're comfortable with.
It helps that we have people who know the group so well. Cole does, Jansen does, obviously.
Yeah, anything from inside the group is really great. Michael Stahl also has done just some incredible arrangements for Continuo. But we hope that more people will write for the type of group that we are, which is this sort of alto, tenor, baritone bass group. Yeah. Let's take a listen to It Came Upon the Midnight Clear.
It came upon the midnight clear, that glorious song of all.
So this arrangement allows us to have those beautiful mid falsetto things without being too high that we get up into treble, you know, the boy range, but not so low that we don't have that soaring falsetto. a lot of the guys in Continuo, even the baritones and basses, have just gorgeous falsettos, and it's nice to be able to use those whenever we can.
This is a really unique setting of this, right? Because it has all that barbershop harmonies we've borrowed in and the jazz.
Yeah.
I think the baritone verse is my favorite.
Yeah. I love that crunch.
Still through the heavenly skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled.
You can hear a lot of John Martin in this one. He's got such a great warmth to his baritone sound. And I love the key change here. This is one of my favorite things in any of the pieces that we do. Get back in the original key. Such a classy key change. So good. Jansen!
You like when it's a classy one, right?
Yeah. I also love the text. It's ancient splendors fling. That's the original text too.
Yeah. It's like a good splendor here and there.
Exactly. Ancient splendor for you.
It's like party favors.
Exactly. And that little add two. I think Xander was on that, but that just adds so much to it.
Okay. Next we have, is Rick listening? Is Rick here?
Rick is here,
good.
yeah.
Okay, good. This is a song that everybody knows, so I'm not going to have us listen to the whole thing, but I want to talk about it because it was a point of discussion in the group, whether it's pronounced wassail or wassail. And the decision I think that Rick made or pointed out to us, is that one is the verb and one is the noun. So you go wassailing.
Yes.
Right? And while you're wassailing, or after you finish wassailing, you drink wassail, which is a spiced punch akin to mulled wine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that is the distinction.
So listen carefully, and you might hear everyone singing all the different kinds of those words, because I'm not sure we ever decided which was which.
So we decided to split them that way. So we say wassail all over the town. From the wassail bowl we'll drink unto thee.
Right. It's the oak.
It's the oak bowl that you like put your drink in, and you go door to door getting filled up, and you drink it by the time you get to the next house.
Which we thought of doing, but it's always rained when we wanted to. Jesse and I, we were down Noe Valley once.
We should go wassailing sometime.
See how the residents of San Francisco respond to wassailers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just give it a listen. Just layered here. Vaughan Williams. Typical.
I find Vaughan Williams is often like everybody shout in unison real loud, and I like that this is not that.
It easily could be.
Yeah.
And actually, we were talking about this before the stream began. I just finished doing a concert of the Vaughan Williams Christmas Fantasia, which is stunning. There's a bit of shouting, but it's a really nice blend of sort of the less heard carols, based on The Truth from Above, right? Williams is known mostly for not mostly. He is known for his solo music, particularly for baritone. I want to go all the way to the lock so we can hear your K.
Oh, yeah. I love bass solos so much.
This is the end of a long recording day.
Yeah.
Like the last thing we did that day.
And the thing about recording that a lot of people don't realize is that you're singing these things over and over and over and over again. typically you will get a hero take, which is like, let's get the best long recording, and then you'll start bolting pieces onto it.
Here it is. Listen to this K. That K, that's $1 million K.
That's the lock song.
That's the lock K.
K.
Yeah.
It's onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of these patches we were singing, let's go to the most difficult part of the piece and let's sing it 7 or 8 times and pick the best one. But we were pretty tired at the end of some of these days. It felt like a full-time job.
I mean, it was a 4-day, 5-day recording.
Yeah.
I split this between our 2 studios, and one of the things I had to take into account was how some of the track was recorded. We couldn't easily blend the richness of the hard tapes with the digital recording. So we had to be very strategic in how we recorded and what and where.
Yeah, we chose which songs we wanted to be tape songs and which songs we wanted to be digital songs.
And just like that, we finished a whole wassailing season.
All right, okay. Ted McIntosh is in for wassailing. He's going to come all the way out from Boston to wassail with us, so we're going to have to do it.
We could do like a annual like coastal swap. Do some wassailing in Boston, do some here.
I would love that. I would happily go wassailing with you all.
Yeah. Okay, Jesse, you're next.
Let's go on to Nova Radist Stala. So this is one where we got to practice our liquid consonants in sort of the Eastern European language style. I think, is this one Romanian? Do you remember? No, I can't remember if it's Russian or Romanian, but it's one of the two. They have similar mouth placement. A lot of these L's you slide through. A lot of your vowels contain sort of the hint of the letter Y. And I really love that. It's the same thing that people complain about English, having all of these diphthongs and triphthongs, these sort of sliding vowels. But in my opinion, it makes it really, really beautiful. Thomas.
My device was in silent mode. Oh my goodness.
So this song had 2 lines of text, one that was in the original language and one in English. We decided to do kind of a mixture of the two, rather than having 8 verses where we would go back and forth between the original language and the English. Ukrainian, thank you.
Yes.
So rather than do 5 verses in Ukrainian and then 5 more verses in English, we decided to kind of go back and forth and generate our own arrangement that way.
Virgin born, son of Mary, lying in a manger.
I love that.
Lying in a manger.
Feels like we're creeping through the snow.
The best example of addiction you were talking about with the liquids is at the very end of this.
Yeah.
One of our rare loud cadences.
It's true.
It's slow, but it's loud.
I like slow and loud. Yeah, usually we do loud and fast, or we do slow and soft
and sweet.
Yeah. Which, as Joyce would say, just because it's slow doesn't mean it has to be soft, and just because it's fast, it doesn't have to be loud. This note. Yeah. The last syllable of that ends with the X character, which is ugh. I love that. Da yuch.
It's good to end a song. Throaty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have us play just a portion of the next song because it is on our upcoming program. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do this one again.
So I don't want to give it away by having everybody hear it now, or else they won't come to the concert in the spring. This is Ave Maria Stella. It's arranged by an arranger that we are just huge fans of, Diane Loomer. She was a Canadian arranger and actually was friends with the producer of our CD, Vance George.
Yeah.
So more on that in a bit. But here is Ave Maria Stella.
Ave Maria Stella, Dei Mater
This is another one that uses an excellent Gregorian chant as the base.
Here's our chant, and here's the response to it.
This is a tricky one for the first tenors because, like in barbershop music, we have the highest notes, but we don't have the melody. And so we need to really concentrate on being that soft, bell-like thing over the top.
Good. We're going to pause right now. That was a nice pause. Good. So I want to
wanted to cut it off before the solo happens.
No, I want to stop when we had a nice cadence. There's a solo coming.
Yeah.
I sing it. But come to the concerts in the spring and you can hear it there. I love this piece, and the reason we like Diane Loomer's music, particularly in Continuo, is because it's so lush.
But she's such a good writer for men's voices.
Mm-hmm. It takes advantage of all the bits that you want to hear and hides the stuff you don't want to hear. It's just nice to sing.
I think she's by far one of the greatest arrangers for men's choir that has ever been.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, next we have O Magnum Mysterium.
So O Magnum Mysterium, this one's interesting. We've done several settings of this text in Continuo. And when Dan, our music director at the time, found this one, we couldn't find any recordings of it. And we didn't know what it sounded like, by being able to listen to it up front. So he's like, I think this is going to be good. It's by an arranger that I really like, who I like their other works. So I trust this arrangement, and I'm going to, order one copy, and we're all going to, sing through the first page of it and see if we like it. But until we sang it, we had never heard it before. And that's sort of rare in this world of, being able to get a YouTube recording of literally any piece. Mm-hmm. There just wasn't one. So I think that this version that we've done might be the first existing professional recording of this piece. I love that unexpected major chord there. Getting that perfect fourth there is really hard for us. We drilled that a lot. And then sudden
That odd,
weird cadence.
Yeah.
I love it. Such a cool piece, and I'm so glad that we took the leap of faith on it and decided to record it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You want to do a little O Regime Celli next?
Yeah. This is a piece by one of our favorite Renaissance composers, Thomas Luis de Victoria. He was Spanish. Jesse mentioned briefly at the beginning sort of some of the components of Renaissance music in reference to Hallelujah, which actually is an interesting comparison to make because they're different time periods, different styles entirely. However, one of the key parts of Renaissance music is the polyphony, that is handing off multiple lines that work in counterpoint. So there's not, in some music you have the melody and then the supporting parts. So for example, in a hymn or in A Came Upon the Midnight Clear, those more sort of standard carols that we all know, you have the melody and then the harmonies around it and a good bass part. In polyphony, we're handing off the lines, so there's not really that structure of hierarchy. Every part is bringing in the text when it's their turn.
Yeah.
Take the spotlight.
Just to answer a quick question from the chat, Von Walker says, has Continuo performed the Lords and O Magnum Mysterium? We have several times. In fact, I think we did a concert where we did two different O Magnum Mysteriums. I don't remember the other one. It was it escapes me. But we did said the same text twice.
I was there. I can vouch for it.
Yeah. But the Lordson is excellent, and Joyce particularly gave us a really great way of thinking about it in sort of this chant-like, more Renaissance-y style. One thing about this type of music that I love is that it existed prior to the creation of bar lines, and so you had a lot more through composition and a lot more sort of through feeling. There's a bit in the very beginning that you'll hear where we sing "Cur Italia famulantur," right? And we're using the words to propel the sound and to create the rhythm, rather than sort of the more modern version would be like we're dividing up these bars into rhythms and we're fitting the words into them. This is the other way around, where the music has to fit the words. Let's take a listen. One thing that we always try to do is whoever has the first occurrence of the new text, they get to be nice and full. Everybody else who has later and later versions, softer and softer, so that we're always following the introduction of the new text.
It's like you having a fugue later in the Baroque era, right? Yeah. Take the subject, off you go, and you're the driver.
Yeah. I love that little intercepio echo, because the three of us that do that can look at each other and really make sure we go at the same time. All right, let's pause that one here, because we're having so much fun that we are running behind on time.
Kills the trees. Yeah.
Get through.
We have enough to say about everything. It's good to know we have enough content stored away.
Yes, exactly.
So this next piece, Peace to All Life, is sort of a contrast to what you just heard. It's much more modern, but it does have some of the same elements, which is that of passing off the vocal lines. Let's give it a listen, and then we'll discuss afterwards.
While shepherds watch their flocks by night.
This is another one that's based sort of on shape note feelings.
It's a piece that Rick brought to us.
The Lord came down and glory shone around, yes, and glory shone around, and glory shone. And glory shone around, and glory shone around.
Tuning those fifths is always a challenge. And in live concerts, you only get one chance.
Yeah.
Which is part of why live concerts are so fun. I often use the metaphor of figure skating when I'm talking about the ways in which music is hard. Because you're trying to do this beautiful artistic program, and then every once in a while, you got to jump up in the air, spin around 4 times, and hopefully land.
Not twist an ankle or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what those moments of cadence are. We're like, oh God, I hope I land this one. And then you do, and it feels amazing. Apparently Dan brought this one.
Oh, I have to get the facts straight here.
It's all good. It's all good. That's why we have the other guys in the chat helping us out. Thank you, Rick.
Which is part of a set of 3, I think. We only recorded the 1, but it was part of the cycle.
Yeah. We actually rehearsed all 3, but this was the one that we wanted to record.
I think Rick had a sizable solo in one of the squads.
Yes. It was Sir Christimas.
Yes.
Yeah. David Jones asks, do we get extra points for bringing in a good piece? I mean, you get your piece done. That feels good.
Good point. The Jones household.
Yeah. No, but I always appreciate when other people bring in good music that they like, even if I'm music directing. Like, I'll find a way to put it into the season.
Yeah, we did a theme of weather when I was directing, and I didn't know enough songs about weather to do a whole concert. People brought things in. It was fun.
Yeah.
Good. So we're gonna stop here. I have an even more exciting thing to talk about than this song.
Do you now?
Well, yes. So as you may have guessed, or for those who already know this song, it really builds and builds and builds, and it ends with a very vigorous sort of stack of fifths and a third somewhere up there in the tenor part.
It's the biggest ending that we have.
It's just huge. And after we finished recording this, Vance George, who is
the Vance George,
whom we call lovingly the Vance George, because he is the director emeritus of the symphony chorus here, and he very generously was willing to collaborate with us and be our producer and be in the booth listening and giving
to be our ears.
That feedback we needed. And this was probably day 3, just before we transitioned from the Chinese telephone studio with the analog recording to the digital one in Soma. And we've been working all day, 5-6 hours in the studio, and finally finished this huge song. And Vance sort of, came out of the booth and walked in and looked at us and said, it's moist in here.
Yeah.
And it became this running joke after a long day of rehearsal.
And we were sweating and having to drink our water bottles. I'm sure it was pretty.
But he was on the better side of the glass for most of the time, so he didn't know what we were doing in the greenhouse there. Anyway, that's my story, and I guess that's all I have to say about Peace to All Life. It's just a good time. Next, we have the namesake of the CD, In Paradisum.
Yeah, this was written by Cole Thomason Reedus, who is a longtime friend of Continuo. Was never actually in Ragazzi, but did every Ragazzi camp and every Ragazzi tour.
As good as.
Was a teacher for many years. Yeah. He is the person who is the most honorable member of the family, and he wrote this for us. I think in an airport while waiting for a plane.
Sounds right. Yeah.
One of Cole's absolute favorite pieces is Down in the Valley, which Continuo and YME have both performed. If you listen to the Amen on the very end of this piece, you may hear some familiar chords.
In Paradisum dedocante angeli, in tuo adventus suscipientem martires, et perducante in civitatem sanctum, Jerusalem. Chorus suscipiat, et cum Lazaro unam habere, habeas requiem.
So that's your "Hear the Wind Blow" chord from down in the valley.
Yeah.
He was like, I like this so much, I'm going to put it in my own little chant piece.
So thank you, Cole, for writing that for us. That
Yeah.
was really a treat. So we have a question in the chat, which is any chance that you can record at Skywalker Ranch? Which, thank you for asking, is the perfect opportunity for me to jump into the obligatory donations pitch that all nonprofits need. So I'll make that now.
Sounds good.
Usually we let John Martin do this because he's an attorney, but I'll give a stab at it. So as everybody knows, the arts is a tumultuous business to be in, and we do this because we love doing it. Nobody is paid in Continuo to be part of the group. We go every Monday down to Redwood City and rehearse. We just recently begun starting to do that in person, which has been a treat.
With masks on, standing apart from each other, so it's not the same as before, but it's definitely better than it has been with us all being in separate rooms on microphones.
So to that end, we would love to make another CD.
Yeah,
we'd love to go on tours, etc. This is only possible with support. Beyond ticket sales, beyond CD purchases. If you this holiday season feel that you'd like to give, you can go to Continuo.org, just website, right?
Yep.
And there's a button there that says donate, and we will happily accept your generosity, any donations you feel you'd like to give, and get us towards another CD. Yeah, that'll be fun.
We should also mention that you can also donate to the Ragazzi Boys Chorus, which is an incredibly deserving organization. And,
the parent without which we wouldn't be here.
We would not be here without them, both historically and literally, because we operate under their brand name, and they give us access to so many wonderful resources. The church that we rehearse in, all of that stuff. They are an extremely deserving organization, and I'm planning on donating to Ragazzi this year. I hope that you all are as well.
Okay. We have about 3 songs left and 2 minutes. Oh my goodness. Well, we'll see what we can do. Next is In Flanders Field. Let's take a listen.
This is our top song on Spotify, I believe. Really? Yeah. People really like this one.
Between the grasses on row, that mark our place, and in
This is one of those ones that we put on the CD because it's absolutely beautiful, not because it is in any way a Christmas song.
It's quite the opposite, really. So this is a very famous text by John McCrae. He was a Canadian physician and lieutenant in World War I.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote this text as sort of a point of view piece or a piece of poetry from the point of view of dead soldiers. So
I love the bass part here.
That drone.
Right, they're doing sort of the
In the earth echo.
The death echo,
Yeah.
the earth echo.
Sort of a dirge, yeah.
Dirge, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that chord. And this is sort of the military verse coming up where they say, "Take up our quarrel
with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be ours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow. In Flanders fields we shall not sleep, though
Classic Continuo ending.
Here it comes. And there you have it.
Yeah.
So, it's just stunning.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's a great piece, and it's
wonderful arrangement of a fantastic piece.
Evidently, it's the most listened to on. I didn't know that on Spotify.
It's our top song on Spotify.
I'm not a heavy user, I guess. Great. We have two more. I'm just going to have to listen to a portion of the following one, a song which Vance referred to as the old war horse. I was going on and on, as I tend to do, and others on the chat can vouch for me on this one, about the linguistic peculiarities and how we should be using, early medieval Spanish, et cetera, et cetera. And then Vance said, let's just sing it. So we did. Here it is.
This is Riu Riu Chiu.
Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera.
That was John Martin singing a solo. And I'll sort of name them as we go through. You can hear different voices.
Oftentimes we get the request to have individual voices stand out. And this is a great song for this.
This is me.
Mas Dios poderoso la supo defender. Quiso la hacer que no pudiese pecar, ni aun original esta virgen no tuviera.
This is Nathan. Rick. Let's see if we get it right.
Yeah, we're doing this from memory.
Que es nacido es el gran monarca, Cristo patriarca de carne vestido.
That second one was Rick Jones.
Wait, it was?
It was. It was not you.
It was me. Rick's next, I think.
No, one of my favorite things about Continuo is sometimes you guess that it's you and you're wrong. I frequently confuse myself with Xander.
Did Rick say that?
Yeah. That's John again, right?
John again.
Que era su padre hoy de la nación, y el que la crió su hijo se dixera.
We recorded so many different articulations of Riu Riu Chiu by themselves, and then decided which ones to plug in.
Yeah, different variants and volumes.
Let's do the loud one here, let's do the soft one here.
That's Rick. Rick, that's you.
Yeah, that's definitely Rick.
Correct it for the record, the second one was me. Was it? Yes! Because I rushed on it.
Oh, Rick says he was the first one. So he started.
Oh, okay. It wasn't John.
I'm so used to John always starting it.
And then the loud one at the end. Ending loud and fast.
Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera.
Good wine on the end.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
really the. I
And a
mean,
good
Chanticleer
ah.
does such a good ending of that.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we definitely took a
We were
page from their book
inspired.
on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's fun to end a song that way, especially when we're so used to this, covered sort of bel canto kind of sound. It's nice to have like a nyeh to like end a good song on.
Yeah, and it so seldom happens in the repertoire we do. Yeah.
A lot of the Georgian songs that we do will have that kind of sound, and some of the Balkan things that we do. I think we may have a piece on our current concert that will end that way.
Well, and it's sort of a discussion of like the masculine and feminine endings, which is very common, like verbiage used to describe it. And some songs can go both ways, right? So you can play with how it might end most effectively. Yeah,
totally. We have unfortunately reached the end of our live stream and our final piece. This is a piece that is really meaningful to this group, and I may honestly tear up a little bit listening to it. I also know that it's one of Robbie's favorites. This is from the All Night Vigil by Sergei Rachmaninoff, the Bogorodice Dievo. This, I think, is the loudest we ever got on the entire CD. And that's it. CD. Thank you so much for joining us on this dark and variably cold, depending on where you are, winter night.
Thank you very much for being loyal supporters and audience members for Continuo. We really appreciate having you all here, even though we can't be in person or aren't in person. We hope for a swift pass through Omicron and wish everybody a safe holiday season, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the spring.
Yes, we don't have a set date for our spring concert, which is going to be around the theme of Northern Lights and Scandinavian composers. But we'll let you know via our mailing list and website and Facebook as soon as we have those dates. We're hoping to be able to do concerts in person, but of course that depends on the way that the world goes. We look forward to seeing you when we can, and if we have to do another one of these, it would be our great pleasure to put something on for all of you. Very much.